my boys, I'm going to tell you a story of how I found out that I'm a Viking. A couple of years ago, I had my genes and my son's genes done. And when the results came back, I found out that I'm 27% Scandinavian. And they draw a little map of where your genes are most common. My genes are most common up around Oslo, where they used to call Vik. And that's where there's more ancient stone carvings than any other place in Scandinavia. Evidently, that's where my genes came from. I had no idea. But how I found out I was a Viking? Well, of course, as a child, I played like a Viking, wrestling and sword fighting with garbage can lids and maple sticks and shooting the bow and arrow. By the time I was 13, I joined Air Cadets. And then when I was 18, now the story gets more interesting. When I was 18, I joined the Canadian Army. After that, I became a tradesman. Like a modern blacksmith, I became a welder and had a welding company. And then eventually, like my ancestors, I became a trader and started to sell equipment. Anyhow, my son was standing there and I opened up the results and I said, "Oh, look at this, Dan. I'm 27% Scandinavian. I'm not a Viking." And my son said this. He said, "Dad, when you were 18, you joined the Canadian Army. You went overseas to Cyprus. And if you had been 18 1,000 years ago, you would have joined a Viking ship and gone Viking." And I heard what my son said. I would imagine it is so. That must have been what happened to one of my ancestors long ago. Anyhow, that's my little story of how my genes are Scandinavian and how my lifestyle has been just like that of a Scandinavian, only I didn't know it. Anyhow, I'm going to show you some shooting now. Back in a minute, boys. Okay, my friends, take a couple of shots here. My mother came from a place called Pools Cove in Newfoundland. Newfoundland is vine land, by the way. My great-grandfather, Samuel Williams. There's a lot of Williamses in my family. It's kind of the Norman influence. Anyhow, Samuel Williams built the church in Pools Cove. He was a very religious man. He owned a ship. He had a store. And people who had stores from all around that area in Fortune Bay would go to my grandfather's store to buy supplies. My mother tells a story how she was a little girl about 5 years old and the men were putting the sails up on the ship and she was starting to leave the harbor, and my mother said she could hear the men singing, "We left New York the middle of May, bound down for Newfoundland." It was like a seaman's shanty. You know? So anyhow, Pools Cove, Newfoundland, no policemen, no doctors, no dentist. A doctor might come once every couple of months on a boat. The only way you got there was by boat, just like in the Viking days. That was it. There was no electricity. Everything was kerosene lamps. People made a living, mostly fishing. Some did join the First World War. There's a graveyard or a body there from that time. So anyhow, if people had a dispute because there was no policeman, you got called out on the front lawn. That's how you settle things. There was no cowards allowed. You fought. And after the fight was over, that was it. But that's the way it was. No doctors, no police. And there was this church. Now, my great-grandfather built the church in Pulls Cove. Samuel Williams built the church. And people still go to that church. I was baptized in that church. That's right. So, that's a story about Pulls Cove. Only get there by boat. They were Vikings. They were living just like Vikings, only 1,000 years later. You know? And again, when my grandfather, Samuel Williams, came to Newfoundland, he was married, he had 4 children. The woman died because people die a lot in those days. And he married my great-grandmother. She was a half-breed Indian, because the Vikings will marry the women that are local. So that's the story of Pulls Cove, and another reason why I'm a Viking. It's not just the genes, but my family lived like Vikings right up until about 1955, when they brought roads in and people changed. Anyhow, there's a little Viking story for you. Oh yeah. And when you're a Viking and you practice, you'll get nice little 3-shot groups like that, right on the nasty warrior's forehead. Back in a minute, boys. Okay, guys, let's take a couple shots here, and this time let's talk about archery instead of history and and things like, you know, in Canada right now we have thousands of graves being dug up by for Indian children that were kept at residential schools by Catholic priests. There's, I mean, you know, talk that these priests were bumfucking these kids and killing them sometimes. Not always, but there's been some real bad things happen in the name of the church. Isn't that something? Well, I hit it. If you're a good person, right in the center. If you're a good person and you're a Christian, you're a good person. And if you're a horrible person and you're a Christian, you're a horrible person. You know? For instance, some of my favorite fans are Christians. Even my friend Justin says, bless you. That's kindness. Bless you. Thank you. Or I have a friend, Richard Knight. Richard Knight says he's a priest. We get along fine. He's a great guy. Yeah. If you're a decent person, you're a decent person. And if you're a rat, you're a rat. Oh, out of ammo. Anyhow, that's what I think, you know. If you're a Christian, you better start acting like one, or you're not a Christian. Anyhow, there's some hits on the target. I'll be back in a minute with some philosophy. Okay, my friends, let's just take a couple of shots here. And I'm going to do something that my father always said you should never do. My father always said, don't ever talk about religion to anybody. It's the quickest way to get into a fight. I've got pictures, you know, of my father wearing the collar. He studied to be a minister. The nicest woman I ever met in my life, Margie. Used to go to church every Sunday, you know, and take care of Sunday day school for the children. Yeah, I'm not anti-Christian at all. better slow down. I just put that about an inch over his head. You know, my friend Justin, you know, he says, bless you. When a Christian says bless you, that's a nice thing. You know, it's like, good luck, bless you. There, that was right in there. So there's many ways of looking at religion, you know. But what I find is when people go around doing murder in the name of Christianity, no, that's not Christianity. Burning Jews is not Christianity. I'll tell you something. German soldiers used to have a pay book, and I was watching an audio book, and there was a German soldier, and he said he used to collect the pay books of his dead comrades, and the Protestants did not give money to the church, but the Catholics almost always gave money to the church. These same Catholics, these good Christians, were out murdering Russian peasants, Russian children, burning down farms. Christians. Nazis? They were Christians. By the same token, you had Canadian and American soldiers who were Christians fighting them. You see, there's no one answer. No one answered. Nice. So that's how I feel about it. If you're a good person, you're a good person. And if you're a bad person, you're a bad person. And when we get all these, you know, Sammy Faye or was it Backer and all those evangelists that are ripping off the black ladies in the southern states, getting millions of dollars and then getting caught in screwing male prostitutes in motels. There's a lot of stuff in Christianity where Christians are very bad people. Just because you believe in God doesn't mean you're a good person. You know? I believe in God. I believe in all the gods. People have been talking about gods for thousands of years. God is in the minds of man. Men created their gods rather than their gods creating their men. Whether you agree or not, you don't have to agree because, you know, it's all open to debate. You know, but I'll tell you, no men. You've never seen a 200-year-old man, have you? Whether they pray or not. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Anyhow, God bless you. And even when you have a little debate like that, and the nasty Viking, the nasty warrior is coming over the gunwale of the boat, shoot him in the face. Pray for him later. Back in a minute. Okay, my friends. I had a thought. And that thought is that I'm a holy man. I'm a holy man. I have thought about God every day for over 70 years. What am I to be taught about God? Right on. Yeah, you know, it's a fact. And God really, in my belief, is in the minds of men. I do not believe Odin is up behind a cloud with an 8-legged horse, or Thor is shooting lightning at somebody, or that, you know, Shiva is reincarnated. We all come back again. You know, it's a funny thing numerically. We all come back in reincarnation, right? So anyhow, right now we have like 6 billion people. Well, once we only had 1 billion. Where'd the other 5 come from? Anyhow, you could argue about religion forever. Forever. Because that's what my father said. Again, my father said, the quickest way to get in a fight is to talk about religion. Right on the nose. But yeah, I'm a holy man. Also, I spent 23 years as a tattooist. Now, the way I tattooed was very much like a shaman. People came in, they told me their life stories. I put on the magic marks and talked to them about relaxation and meditation and dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff. Right? Like a modern shaman. You know? So I would consider myself to be a holy man in a very simple kind of a way. And I think that the myths are great, you know, all the myths, the Hindu myths, the Christian myths, you know, let's make it out of a rib. Oh, got the chemistry set and we'll make the world in 6 days. It's all great stuff. It's great stuff. It's ways that our ancestors taught us stories and how to survive, because religion was very close to survival in the past. That's why they were sacrificing and eating things. You know, you sacrifice the thing to the god and then you ate it. You know, that kind of stuff. But anyhow, that's what I think. And I hope you guys can tolerate me. Anyhow. It's a funny little girl. And of course, when you do that kind of stuff, even when you're talking, well, I got 2 right on his nose. Not bad. That nasty warrior. Keep him away from me. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. Let's just fling a couple of arrows. Like our ancestors. You know, not like these string walkers and people that can't shoot, you know, so they start doing string walking. You know, sights and clickers. They just can't shoot. Split finger. That's the way our ancestors shot. You know, all these other things are just gimmicks. You know, if you go low enough on your string, you can even make your arrow shoot around a corner, or go high enough, you can shoot around a corner. All trick stuff. But real shooting is using your fingers, split finger, not string walking. You know, not doing all these fancy little things, not having to have a shelf, not having to put heavier tips on or smaller feathers or a different knock. Oh, those knocks, boy, they'll make me hit the target better, right? You know, oh yeah, I'll just count down here. Nah, it's baloney. This is real archery. Our ancestors held the arrow on their string and shot with their hand. Oh no, they shot off the right. Oh no, they shot off the left. Oh no, they shot. Stop arguing. This is real shooting. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But don't knock it. Anyhow, when you can do it, then you'll start to get hits like that. These 2 of them are right in the same hole. Good enough. Back in a minute. Okay, my friends. This is real archery. You know, you'll see people go from compound bows to this, but usually it's the other way around. They can't shoot a bow like this, so they go to the compound. I can shoot a bow like this because I'm a real archer, and I'm teaching you how to shoot a bow and a little bit about life. I'm just going to leave that like that because it's just too sweet. But yeah, you know, all these guys that are using the compound bows and their clickers and their let off, you know, or they've got the foam limbs or the snap-on caps, you know, and all this kind of stuff. Nonsense. I'm a real archer. I have skill and knowledge, and I can shoot with my right hand just like my ancestors. You know, I don't need little mechanical devices to let go and all this kind of stuff, and little, you know, balance bars so I can tell if the bow is level or all that kind of stuff. Just nonsense. Just nonsense. If you want to be a real archer, you watch me and you listen to the things that I'm saying. and you'll get to be an archer. How you control it with your left hand, roll it on with your left hand. How you bring it back, get your thumb in behind your ear, like our ancestors, by your ear. Relax your arm. Let those fingers radius. I had a guy say, oh, radius, what's that? Howard Hill never said that. That's right, Howard Hill never said it. I said it. I said it. Anyhow, when you get your fingers relaxed so that it radiuses a little bit, then you can just press forward, and it will be visually on, not indirect or any other thing. Okay? So anyhow, that's the stuff I'm telling you. Yeah, the shit is in the fan. Anyhow, I just took 2 shots. See that? That's good enough, isn't it? 2 in the same hole. That's enough. With my right hand holding the arrow on without a clicker. Back in a minute. Okay, my friends. I guess we'll close it up for this evening. Done a lot of talking, far too much talking. I guess that's it, you know. Okay? Yeah. So, for all you pagans out there this evening, I hope you have a good night. All you Christians out there this evening, I hope you have a good night. All you Jews out there this evening, I hope you have a good night. All you Muslims out there, I hope you have a good night. All you Hindi out there, have a good night. All you atheists out there, have a good night. All you Buddhists out there, have a good night. I wish you all to have a good night, to get along with one another. Try that. Don't be a bunch of goddamn assholes. Get along. Take it from a holy man. When you do, you'll start to get hits like that too. Nice little group, eh? Listen to what I say. Be kind to one another. Take care, boys.